Hello from Pennsylvania. Welcome back to Sun.
+1. And today we're in Nazareth. We're at Jacobsburg State Park, and we're going to do Sober's Run Loop Trail. So join us.
I wonder why they call it Sober's Run.
I don't know, Chris.
Okay, let's go then.
And Jacobsburg State Park, at least the Sober's Run Loop Trail, starts right here at Belfast and Keller Road, right at the corner. And here's the parking lot. And here's where the trail starts. Now, hi Chris.
Hi.
Right over there is the end of the Bushkill Township Trail, which we'll do in another video. And it ends right there. But then the Jacobsburg State Park and the Sober's Run Trail starts right across the street here. So let's get going. Now, Jacobsburg State Park is pretty big. There is 18.5 miles of trails, and obviously we can't do those all today. So we're going to do the Sober Run Loop Trail today, which is, I think it's close to 3 miles, 2.7 miles. It's a loop. Now, Jacobsburg has 1,168 acres of forests. There's fields, which provide a wealth of recreational and educational opportunities. There's a lot of picnicking, wildlife, watching, hiking, mountain biking, horse riding, fishing, and cross-country skiing here. The Jacobsburg National Historic District encompasses the eastern side of the park property and lies almost entirely within the boundaries of the Jacobsburg Environmental Educational Center. And the Educational Center isn't right here. It's down a little ways, which I'll show you that later when we get close to it. So the district is on the National Register of Historical Places, and its story is intertwined throughout the early development and growth of our nation. Now, we're right alongside the path here, and this is Sober's Run Creek, and it runs into Bushkill Creek, eventually, over there. Pretty. Now, the history of Jacobsburg focuses on the Henry family and their small arms industry, which played a key role in the American Industrial Revolution. The first of the Henry gun makers, William Henry I, opened his gun factory in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 1750. He became armorer for the Braddock Campaign of 1755 and for the Forbes Expedition of 1758. William Henry II established a small gun-making shop in Christian Springs near Nazareth in 1778. In 1792, Henry II purchased land at Jacobsburg and built a gun manufacturer. Henry II acquired the land from the heirs of the Jacob Hubler, who in 1740 founded the community from which Jacobsburg draws its name. Only foundations remain at the colonial village of Jacobsburg and at the Henry Forge historical site. Henry II erected a forge, a bloomery, to supply the gun factory with iron to manufacture guns. In 1812, a larger manufacturer was built in nearby Bolton in order to accommodate large government firearms contracts. Now, 3 succeeding generations of Henrys produced small arms at Bolton until the late 1800s. Competition from arms company using mass production techniques made the Henrys handcraft technology obsolete. The Henrys not only produced firearms for all of our nation's major conflicts, from the Revolutionary War all the way through the Civil War, but they also were the primary suppliers of rifles for the largest American business enterprise of the early 19th century, John Jacob Astor's American Fur Company. The Henry firearm became the most prominent weapon of the Western frontier due to its durability, accuracy, and relative low cost. Now, in the southern portion of Jacobsburg is the Bolton Historical Site, which is administered by the Jacobsburg Historical Society. People like us can go and explore historic buildings and take a self-guided trail that interprets the life of the Henry family and the Bolton Gun Works. The Henry Homestead, which was built in 1812, houses the Pennsylvania Long Rifle Museum, The nearby John Joseph Henry House was built in 1832. So there's just a little bit of history, and eventually in another video we'll do more of Jacobsburg State Park, and we will go to that Bolton historical site and we will see all that stuff. And it's really interesting. I've been in there before, so I'm really looking forward to taking you with us. Now, we have been on this trail before, and I like this trail, I really do, but this isn't Chris's favorite trail. And Chris, maybe you want to tell him why this isn't your favorite trail.
Well, because it's all happened in the fall, and we were walking down a little ways down here, and there was a lady and her dog that passed us, and then as she was passing me, I felt a painful, I don't know what you would call it, but it was like pain, and I looked down, and the dog was biting my arse, and I was like, what's going on here? And when I looked, she was gone. She was already running away.
Yeah, the dog was pulling on your shirt and
the dog was ripping my clothes. Oh man, it was just...
Chris, that dog was awful rough on you.
Yeah, it sure was.
Now, unlike a lot of the other paths we go on, this path has very few benches. In fact, I believe this is our only bench here. Chris, we're passing the only bench.
Yep, I don't feel like sitting yet.
Okay, and here we go. And as you can see, this is really, like I said, majestic landscape. It's almost as if, because there's trees on each side, and they are old growth trees, and it's almost as if you're going through a tunnel. And it's just so beautiful, so peaceful, and in the fall, it really is gorgeous. I'll have to come back in the fall just to show you. It's gorgeous, but on the other hand, it's also a little bit spooky because it's so desolated, and you just have to see it later on. But right now, I mean, just look at the tree growth, and it's just surrounding the paths on both sides. And not only that, you got so many plants, and a lot of these plants are medicinal, herbal plants. And they're kind of young yet, but as they mature and get older, I'll discuss some of them and some of the traditional uses for those too. As I said, this channel is not for, herbal plants mainly, but I'm going to give little tidbits of information here and there on that. It's just why we're walking. I just love how the vines just wrap around these trees. And you see this all over. Some wrap around more than others. It's just odd, isn't it, how that happens? Now, as you can see, this is a gravel path. Actually, it needs a little more gravel, but it rained yesterday, so it's a little bit muddy. Not too bad. But you can still ride your bikes on here really well. And like I said, we're only doing parts of Jacobsburg today. I mean, there's no way we can do 18.5 miles in a day and tape at the same time. So we're in this section. I'm not sure if this is the north section or what they call this section. But we'll also be going and visiting the Jacobsburg Educational Center in Henry's Woods. That's over there. And the Bolton Historical Site will be another tape where we go into the buildings and see all that. And then there's, on top of the mountain, there's a bunch of paths that are fields. And there is so many flowers, and medicinal herbal plants up there. And that is absolutely one of my favorite places. But we'll get to that in the next video too on Jacobsburg. I mean, just look at all this forest. That's the one side. And this side, we are surrounded by trees and plants. And that too. And this goes on for quite a long ways, just like this. And Jacobsburg State Park keeps all the trails really well maintained. I mean, you can see that for here, and they're all like that. No matter what part of the 18.5 miles of trails you go on, they're all really well maintained. The one thing I've noticed that is strange here, that every time I come here, I don't see like a lot of wildlife. A lot of the other places I go, there's like a plethora of wildlife, always walking across the path, or you can see just on the edges of the path. This one, I just very seldom see a lot of wildlife. Some, but not a plethora like the other places. Of course, I shouldn't have said that, because now probably a big bear is going to jump right out in front of me. That's exactly what I'd get, right? Well, now we come at a little junction in the road. We're going to go straight because there's a little creek down there. But it also goes this way, which we'll go, and this way. But for now, we're just going to go straight. Now we got up to the bridge right here in the creek. And now we'll go down this path, which will go around and go right back and meet to the other path we were on. It's like a big circle back to the main path. And this one isn't as wide, still well maintained, and not as flat neither. You go up a little bit of hills, and which is good exercise actually. You don't want to stay flat all the time. You want to go up, or you want to go down. You want to have different movements. And now it gets a little wider. It was just through that brush. So I guess they've cleaned up some trees that maybe have fallen in the path or something and just lined them up there. Now this is also a small path. We're not going to go down there today. It just goes down just a little ways and goes to a main road, and we have to turn back around. So we're just going to continue here. And here's where the gravel stops for a while. And it's more like it's all grass and more looks like a field sort of. I don't know if you can hear the birds singing, but there's a lot of birds singing right now. They're trying to tell each other, I'm the prettiest. And I'm not sure what this thing was from. So if anybody knows, just comment below. Chris, how do you feel?
Pretty good.
Just have your cold still, right?
Yeah.
Now we're coming across a bridge. And the Bushkill Creek is right down there. And you can see a fisherman down there too. You gotta cross a little water, but it's not deep. A little wetness never hurts somebody, unless you're the witch from Wizard of Oz. This is a Sunday, and I'm so surprised it's so quiet. Usually there's more people on the weekend, but it's also pretty early, 8 or 8:30 in the morning, so maybe that's why. Eventually, you come to the main road right here, Jacobsburg Road. And we could cross the road and go down there. I don't know if you can see, but the road turns off to the left. And that would be where the Jacobsburg Educational Center is which we will go another time. But for now, we're just gonna go back. I just wanted to show you that it's over there, and we will visit that too. Got this whole row on both sides full of skunk cabbage. Of course, it's all wet around here. Chris, for once, is ahead of me. Good for you. So it is super, super important when you're out in the wilderness or you're hiking or even in your own yard, do not pick any plants, leaves, flowers and put them in your mouth and start eating them. Because you might think you know what a plant is, and it's not, and it can kill you. It can be toxic. There are so many plants that look identical, but they're not. So unless you really, really know what you're doing, don't do that. You have to have practice, you have to do research. So just don't eat anything when you're out like that. Well, we hope you enjoyed Sober's Run Loop Trail, because we sure did, and we will be back. Happy dance.
Boy, I am at a loss for words. Please subscribe down below.